Woodcraft, helping you make woodwork.
Dry time to really, not just to the touch, but to dents and whatnot. I would really make a rule of thumb and just put one coat on a day, unless you're using lacquer. Lacquer dries very fast, but it's not friendly to you. It smells terrible. It'll just kill your house. You won't be able to stand being in there. So that's a little bit more of a professional level. So I would just, you know, you're going to stain one day, you're going to clear coat and let them dry a whole night in between. Very important. So I was using this last night, so I had it all good and mixed up last night, and it's a gel coat, so it stays together really well. If you're using a semi-transparent or something that's really thin, you're going to want to stir it every time you use it. So this is what I was doing last night to kind of give you a look of the different looks that you can get from this gel stain. And it's all, this I just taped it off and left it, except for the little boo-boos I had here and there. So this is the natural look of your door. This is one coat, about 5 minutes, and then wiped off. This one down here is one coat and about a half hour, and then wiped off. This one and this one, I put it on, I gave it 5 minutes, I wiped it off, I had this, and then I took my disposable brush and I kind of just left some of it there, which gives you a little bit of a grain look and also that darker look if you're looking for that really dark finish, and still have a little bit of grain going in there. The darker your finish, the less grain you're going to have. So keep that in mind. If you want grain, you need to not go so dark. If you don't really care if you see the grain or not, then you can just go and go and go. And this gel stain is all about how many coats you put on and how long you leave it on. With it being a very thick paste, have you all seen it? I mean, it's a very thick paste, more than it is a thin, runny, semi-transparent stain. So I really hope that I don't drop it on one of you or on the floor in the middle of 5 of you. So when you're using this, you're going to want to move quite quickly. And you're going to want to use a fair amount. I'm sorry, I stepped on your toe. Reason being, if it dries too fast, you're not going to be able to wipe it off evenly, and then you're going to be really, really blotchy. If you can see that. And blotchy is bad. No matter how far away you get, you'll always see how blotchy things are. And you got it. It's annoying. It annoys me. You know, there is. And we're going to talk about that here just right now. Let me get a coat of this on. So it's very thick and pasty. And lots of different applications that you can use. For all general purposes today, I'm just going to use a disposable towel, which I do a lot, depending on the size of the job. If I was doing a whole kitchen, I would use one of these applicators. Because you can just put it in a plastic bag and use it again on the next coat. You don't have to get a new one every time. You just want to take the air away from it so it doesn't overly dry. Kind of a little hint. Again, the places that nobody likes to contend with, your corners and your highs and your lows, those are really critical that you hit those and get a lot in there so it does its absorption thing into the existing clear coat. If you don't, you're going to leave a line that doesn't always look so good most of the time. And I'm not going to do this whole door. I think we're kind of pushing our time frame already. This is an oil-based stain. It will stain all your clothes and your fingers. Every time I go out in the shop and I don't want to change my pants or my shirt, I say, oh, I'm going to be really careful. And I really am up until about the last 5 minutes, and then I end up getting it on me every time. Not this product. I do not believe so, no. But your thinners is where it would probably burn through. Not so much. Yeah, it does. Mineral spirits, not so much, because it's a really mellow thinner. But if you get into your acetones or your lacquer thinners, things like that, yeah, it's going to eat through it very heavily. So what I'm doing is I'm already starting to dry in places. So I'm taking my really heavy spots and I'm just kind of leveling them out while it's doing its thing, absorbing and giving me a color. So it may look like I'm constantly playing with it. In a sense, I kind of am. But I don't want it to be uneven, so I'm just making sure that it's all even and stays moist. Doesn't have to be wet, wet, wet. Just a little bit moist. And if you do make the mistake of letting it sit too long, before you take it off, just put a really light coat over it and it reactivates it and allows it to come off evenly. If you just take a towel and try and really quickly try and get it off, it's going to be blotchy. And then you might as well just put some thinner to it and take the rest of it off and start again. As long as you don't have a clear coat on it, thinner will remove it and you can start again. It's pretty simple. It's very user friendly. So, and just like with any other stain or clear, you know, the more you put on, the longer you let it sit, the darker it's going to be. The more coats you use, the darker it's going to be, and that sort of thing. Throw it away. I like that. Okay, 10 minutes has gone by, and we've allowed this to do its thing and darken up. And all I'm doing is I'm just nice and easily removing anything that's wet. Ooh, I just toasted your table, Nick. Sorry. Nicks and crannies, again, big pain in the patooey, but it will look much better in the end if you take the time to clean them out. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself as far as how much stain I'm putting on to removing. And the meaning of that is I'm not going to completely do every carcass in my kitchen and then come back and wipe it all down. It'll be way too dry. I'm going to take one section, do it. Take the next section, stain it. Take the next section, stain it. When you do a clear coat, you can do it all at once. But when you stain it in sections. Doors too. Stain a door, wipe a door, stain a door, wipe a door, wipe a door. And it doesn't allow the stain to dry and be hard to work with. So. I'm going to purposely leave a blotchy spot right there. I'm using big strokes. It's because it lays down better, comes up better. It's more of an even look rather than short, choppy little strokes. Corners, all about just really getting in there and getting them cleaned out. A lot of times in corners and tight areas, I'll take a brand new chip brush and I'll just get in there and try and pull that stain away so it doesn't leave a big old puddle. and then I'll just come back and wipe it again. It cleans it up really well. Okay, so I left a blotchy spot. I'm not going to worry about this too much. Garbage. Can you see it? It's right up here. I probably should have put a cloth down. Couple of ways that you can contend with that. You can take a little bit of thinner on a towel and lightly try to remove it. And when you're doing this, I very much recommend mineral spirits because it is not a really strong thinner, and you're just trying to blend it back to where the blotch goes away, but yet you don't take all of the stain with it. You got to be pretty good with blending when you do it this way. And what I'm doing is I'm just pulling from the top all the way to the bottom to try and give it a nice even blend. It's not my favorite method. If you want to cover it up, you can take a chip brush, and you know, if you're going to go a little bit darker, and you can just work it through with your brush, moving your product down till it's, you know, somewhat dry. You can tell when you're putting it on if it's dry or not, and you can blend it that way. The way that I got that look on the back, that really, really dark look, is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just putting it on heavy, and I'm just brushing it down until I get something that I like. There's a little bit more detail into something like this. It takes a bit longer. But if that's the look that you're looking for, this is how you get it. You put it on heavy, and then you just keep working it until you get what you like. Exterior clear coat. The product itself will be wonderful on any surface. It's just about the clear coat in the end. Any exteriors need an exterior clear coat. Okay. Give it a few minutes, wipe it off. This one over here was put it on, give it a few minutes, wipe it off, and then work a little bit more into it on top with a towel and not the brush. Because I wasn't so dark, I didn't have to worry about not seeing any grain. I like grain, so it's all about personal preference though. How much you put on, what you want it to look like. A sponge, I mean, nowadays people like to use the sponge and get that sponge effect. You can very much do that. You can do anything you want. You just gotta let it dry. I have been letting this dry for since 9 o'clock last night, so it's been drying for some time. And it's plenty dry now to put a clear coat on. Which brings us into clear coats. If you're not completely dry, your brush on your clear coat, it's going to take it off. And then it's gone. And at that point, it's really hard to recover it without completely starting over. So it's pretty important. If you're in doubt, wait. Just give it another half a day or something. If you touch it and you can't disrupt it,